Hey, it's Shani, and I'm back with the episode of Shani's Lab. So I wanted to come on here and talk about the newest cases of sexual assault that's being brought up in the news. Well, I can't really say the news. I would say I've read a few articles. I've watched Your World and I've watched Nicole's View. And also while I was at work the other day, I was reading the article about Katy Perry, but two people have accused Katy Perry of sexual misconduct, one from the Teenage Dream era and one from a pretty recent um, one that's pretty recent, and then also the young white bartender who accused Don Lemon, of sexual assault. So my opinion on this is that my opinion on this on the whole situation is this: I think that it's weird that there's no outrage. It's weird that you don't have the Tarana Burks and all of the so-called self-righteous women who were so down to take down Bill Cosby, one of our black elders. And I'm not gonna bring up R. Kelly because, like I said, we all know that R. Kelly, did a lot of shit back in his day. So the heat that he's getting is kind of, he should have foresaw it coming. But when it comes down to people like Bill Cosby, and you remember when they tried to throw Morgan Freeman into the whole Me Too movement, but the black woman who they said that he, sexually harassed, she, brought him on her show and they talked and laughed it off, and she was like, that's basically, that's some bullshit. So, when it comes, I'll start with Don Lemon. When it comes down to Don Lemon, I've never liked him. I'm not really a huge fan of, black people who go on to white television stations and, basically mock or disrespect, black people. Like, you remember when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going down and you had Don Lemon who was going on the news trying to pretend like, people were just crazy and that the people were rioting for no reason. And I remember when he got into that debate on TV with Talib Kweli, like, he's very disrespectful. He's one of those, I'm gay, so I don't see myself as black. I'm LGBTQ. Like, I don't know what's happening in the world today, but for some reason, LGBTQ has now become some sort of they're using it as if it's an ethnicity or a race or something of that nature when it's not. It's just, sexual orientation. If you're a man that wants to sleep with a man, a woman that wants to sleep with a woman, so forth, or whatever, those are just sexual orientations, but you can't just come out of nowhere and make LGBTQ like make it like sort of an ethnicity or whatever. But so when it comes down to Don Lemon, I never liked him, and even when the white guy came out and accused him, I wanted to be like, well, wait a minute, let's gather all the facts, but then I was like, well, wait a minute. When it came down to Bill Cosby, they didn't do that, and he was the same person who brought on the women, to talk about Cosby and tell their stories or whatever it may have you. So I'm waiting for other people or other stations to bring this white guy on so he can talk about Don Lemon and talk about his experience. And when I was reading the article and the story that the guy was telling me, I mean, it's disgusting. The guy said that he put his finger down his pants and then put it on his face, and that he told Don Lemon told the guy, you want to fuck me, and then, like, it was really weird. And then the guy said he was being harassed by other bartenders and other people who were making a mockery of the situation, which of course to him that's just not funny. Like, to me, that's not funny. That's not cool. So the story was pretty graphic and it seemed real to me. And when it comes down to Katy Perry, one of the male models in her video said that she one guy said that he pulled his pants down and exposed his entire area to a lot of people. And then one person said that she was like inappropriately touching him and groping him and things like that. So I just don't understand where the Me Too movement is. I don't understand where your Tarana Burks, where all the women who are righteous about this. And even with there was a black woman and her name is escaping my mind right now, but she recently accused a black guy on this. She was on a television show and she said that he was harassing her or this case or whatever. Nobody came out to like, she had to leave her show, like, it was that bad. Nobody came out and defended her. I don't see anybody rallying behind her. So it's kind of showing y'all what the Me Too movement was all about. What it really means to America and what it really means to women. Because if the Me Too movement was really about protecting women and keeping environments, work environments, or any environment in general safe for women, you would have these women coming out in droves and defending this black woman, which they didn't. And when it comes down to Katy Perry and Don Lemon, you don't see a bunch of hate. You don't see a bunch of people on YouTube going in on them like they did Cosby, and where they tried to do Morgan Freeman, or how they did every other black man that's been accused of sexual misconduct, So, at this point, it's just getting frustrating and irritating. And even when you talk to women, they'll say some shit like, oh, I don't have time to search and Google every case. And it's like, come on now, come on. So, y'all were down, when it comes down to a black man and white society is on it and pushing it, everybody wants to join in, on trying to help to destroy that person. But when it's, a Katy Perry or a Don Lemon, shit is quiet. And then, I think they purposely released these stories at a time where, we had the shooting here in Philadelphia. We just had that mass shooting in El Paso. Like there's a lot going on news-wise. So I think that, they did it on purpose by releasing, all of these stories so late, because I don't understand. And also when it comes to Don Lemon, I think that he's being protected because, he's homosexual. Like, for the same stuff with Kevin Spacey, the guy came out, they investigated, he did get, removed from his show or whatever, not Kevin Spacey, I don't know why I said Kevin Spacey. What is the guy's name from House of Cards? The guy from House of Cards. He did get removed from his show and all that, but, it turned out that, the story wasn't true and, it wasn't factual or whatever. But in the same breath, you notice that the news didn't run any smear campaigns against him. They didn't go deep back into his history, 30, 40 years, and start bringing up old shit that's not related or doesn't matter, They kind of, they kept it quiet until, till everything came out. But when it comes down to, black men, they go back into your history. They're bringing up shit that doesn't matter. There are smear campaigns, But when it comes down to a Katy Perry and a Don Lemon, we don't get that same reaction. And even, Danny Masterson from that 70s show, he was just recently accused of sexual misconduct. So, like this whole accusations of sexual misconduct is kind of getting out of hand. And for God's sakes, I don't understand why people are not going to the police. Like if you've been sexually, harassed or whatever, please do not wait 5 to 10 years, 20 years to say something. It's not good for you. It's not good for your soul. And, when you're a kid, it's different. So, I do give children, like if this happened to you in your youth, it's very hard to talk to people. And sometimes it takes you a very long time to even process that, like sexual harassment or misconduct or being raped or anything in general is very, very hard to deal with. So, when you're a kid, that the turnout will be different. But when you're an adult, you need to go and say something. You need to, make sure that, this doesn't happen to another person. But you have, all of these, so-called accusations of rape that have come out, and people, some of these are old, some are new, but the thing is, why is there an open window or just an open media for just sexual misconduct to be talked about in media? Like excuse me, there needs to be therapy, there needs to be police reports, and people need to and it's not to take away from any pain or anything that the victims may be feeling, but the best thing for you to do is, file your police report, go to therapy, and, and work on bettering yourselves and fixing your emotions and things like that. But going on TV and, going to this news reporter and that news reporter is not really doing anything for real victims of sexual harassment. And you notice that, in media specifically, they only talk about, Hollywood. Like they don't talk about actual women whose cases are being, slipped under the rug, women who work in, offices and schools and things like that. Like, their cases aren't really being talked about. So I'm actually really disappointed in Katy Perry because when I was a teenager, I was a big fan, of Katy Perry. I liked her. This is when I was a big pop music fan. I liked her music. I thought, she was cool or whatever. But, to hear, that, she was out, going against Cosby. She was out going against, R. Kelly, and then to turn around and, have sexual misconduct case of your own. The same thing for Don Lemon. He was so quick to run game on Bill Cosby's name, so quick to run game on R. Kelly's name, so quick to disrespect any other black person. But, when it comes down to him, CNN wants to save him. They want to wait for all the facts. Like, why is he not fired? How is he still on TV? Like, I don't get it. And this is why people don't fuck with the Me Too movement anymore. Like, even white women have started to be like, well, you know what? This has gone too far. I think that when they tried it with Morgan Freeman and the whole Michael Jackson thing, that's when people said, okay, no. Like, at first, it was okay, people telling their stories, people are finally getting in trouble for something that, shouldn't just be, forgotten about or, slip away, so people were cool with that. But then, when they started going after people who aren't here anymore or people who actually haven't done anything, that's when everybody was starting to scratch their head like, something ain't right here. Something ain't right. So, again, where's the outrage against, Danny Masterson? Where's the outrage against Katy Perry? Where's the LGBT community, for going, why are they not going after Don Lemon? Like, to be honest, this should, you would think that they, the community itself would be out there, waving their finger in his face, like, but nope. So, what you guys think about this? Do you feel like, the Me Too movement is definitely, proved itself to be just, a black man witch hunt? Or do you feel like Katy Perry, Danny Masterson, Don Lemon, and so many other people who, people aren't really showing outrage for? Do you think that, this is just, I don't even know what to say or what to call it. Like, at first I'm, was pissed about it, but then I'm like, you know what? We knew what it was when it hit. Like, when it went down with Bill Cosby, and I actually researched and did the research and looked at all the facts, I was like, okay, I see what this is. And then, after that, all you kept seeing was black faces. Like, it started off with, white men, being accused, sexual misconduct and, using their power, over, other people. But then, after that, it just became blackface after blackface after blackface after blackface. And now, that it's a white woman, and now that it's LGBTQ, nobody wants to talk about it. Now, all of a sudden, oh, we don't have time to look at every case and every story. Like, you got to really watch people who say shit like that. Like, you have to watch who you're around, who you're talking to, because these are people who will most likely allow some shit to go down, not talk about it. But then when the wave is on it, if it's on a wave, like, you know what I mean? If it's on a wave and everybody's talking about it, then you have these people who now all of a sudden they want to talk about sexual misconduct. Now, they want to wave the finger. So, this is not cool, like, something needs to be done about this shit. I'm over it.